My name is Nikolai Petrov, Korea. I'm 103 years old. I survived 900 days inside Leningrad, not with a rifle, but with a kitchen knife, scraping wallpaper paste off frozen walls because it had flour in it. They gave us medals after. Nobody ever asked us what we ate to earn them. I ate wallpaper paste to stay alive. I was 18 years old, and I was on my hands and knees in a frozen apartment, scraping paste off the wall with a kitchen knife, because it had flour in it. Flour meant calories. Calories meant one more day. People hear the word siege, and they think of castles. They think of soldiers. They don't think of a 3-year-old girl sitting perfectly still in a chair, because she's learned that moving burns energy, and energy means death. I saw that girl. I knew that girl. She was my neighbor's daughter. Her name was Lena. She didn't make it. Nobody asked me about Leningrad for 60 years. Not my government, not journalists, not my own family. Leningrad was something the Soviet Union wanted to celebrate, but not examine. They wanted the heroism. They didn't want the truth. And the truth is that heroism and horror are the same thing when you're starving.
Kolya, I'm so grateful you're here with us today, and I know this took real courage to share. So tell me, in those 900 days, what was the worst part?
The cold. People think it was the hunger, and the hunger was terrible. But the cold is what killed most of us. Leningrad winters, -30, -40 degrees. The pipes froze in October 1941 and didn't thaw until spring. No running water, no heat, no electricity. You'd wake up in the morning and there'd be ice on the inside of your walls. On the inside. My family, my mother, my father, my sister Katya, and me, we were living in our apartment on Nevsky Prospect, a beautiful building. Before the war, you could stand on our balcony and see the Neva River. After the siege started, you could stand on our balcony and see smoke. That's all. Smoke and rubble, and sometimes the flash of shells. The Germans didn't invade Leningrad. That's what people don't understand. They surrounded it. They put a ring of steel around a city of 3 million people, and they waited for us to die. Hitler's order was specific. Don't capture the city. Starve it. Shell it. Bomb it. But don't waste soldiers taking it. Let winter and hunger do the work. And it did. The ration. That's the word that ruled everything. By November 1941, the daily bread ration for a civilian was 125 grams. Do you know what 125 grams of bread looks like? It's a slice. One thin slice. And it wasn't even real bread. It was bread mixed with sawdust and cellulose and sometimes cottonseed. It tasted like wet cardboard. And that was everything. That was your entire day of food. My father was an engineer at the Kirov factory. The factory kept working through the siege, building tanks while the city starved. He got a worker's ration, which was slightly larger, 250 grams. He used to bring his bread home and split it with my sister. He'd say he'd already eaten at the factory. He hadn't. I knew because I could see his collarbones coming through his shirt. By January, his eyes had sunk into his skull, and his skin had turned grey. Not pale, grey, like paper that's been left in the rain. He died on February 3rd, 1942. He was 44 years old. He died of what the doctors called dystrophy, which was the official word for starvation. The Soviet government didn't use the word starvation. Starvation implied failure. So they called it dystrophy, as if it were a medical condition and not a political one. We couldn't bury him. The ground was frozen solid. You couldn't dig a grave with a shovel in Leningrad in February. The cemeteries had stopped functioning, so we wrapped him in a sheet, and my mother and I dragged him on a child's sled to a collection point. That's what they were called, collection points. Places where you brought your dead and left them in rows, and eventually someone would come with a truck and take them to a mass grave. I dragged my father's body on a sled through the streets of Leningrad, and I passed dozens of other sleds going in the same direction. Some had bodies wrapped in sheets. Some had bodies wrapped in curtains or blankets. Some had bodies with nothing, just frozen, stiff, carried on the sled like firewood. Nobody cried. Crying takes energy. Energy was food. Food was life. You didn't waste it on grief. My mother stopped speaking after my father died. Not metaphorically. She physically stopped speaking. She would sit by the window and look out, and I would bring her the bread ration, and she would eat it very slowly, and then she would go back to looking out the window. She did this for 3 months. In May, the weather warmed slightly, and one morning I woke up and she was still sitting by the window, but she was cold. She had died during the night, sitting in her chair, looking at the Neva. I was 19. My sister was 15, and we were alone. Katya and I survived by doing things I will not describe in detail. I will tell you that we ate things that were not food. Leather belts boiled in water until they became soft enough to chew. Glue scraped from furniture joints. It was made from animal bones, so it had protein. Weeds from the park. I caught a rat once, and we cooked it, and it was the best meal we'd had in weeks, and we both cried while we ate it. Not from sadness, from the taste of actual meat. There were worse things, things I heard about, things I know happened in our building. I won't speak of them. Some truths should stay buried, because speaking them serves nothing except to prove that human beings, when pushed far enough, are capable of anything. We already know this. We don't need proof. The shells came every day. The Germans shelled the city on a schedule. You could almost set your watch by it. They targeted hospitals. They targeted bread lines. They targeted water collection points. They knew where people gathered, and they aimed there. One morning in December, I was standing in a bread line on Bolshoi Prospect, and a shell hit the line 40 meters ahead of me. 40 meters. I felt the blast in my chest. When I opened my eyes, the line in front of me was gone. Not scattered, gone. And the people behind me just closed the gap and kept waiting. Because the bread was coming, and without bread you died. And dying from a shell was faster than dying from hunger.
I can't say I understand. What you lived through is beyond anything words can hold. But I'm listening, and every word you've said has reached me. Your father who lied about eating so he could leave the food for you and Katya. That wasn't just love, that was sacrifice. And your mother who stayed by the window until there was nothing left in her. In both of them there was a human dignity that no siege could break. But I want to know more about it. When did the siege end for you?
It didn't. The military siege was broken in January 1944. 900 days. They opened a corridor and supplies came in, and slowly, the city came back to something that looked like life. But the siege never ended. Not inside us. Katya survived. She married after the war. A good man, a veteran from Kursk. They had 2 children. But Katya never wasted food. Never. Not once in her entire life. If there was a single spoonful of soup left in the pot, she would eat it. If bread went stale, she would soak it in water and eat it. Her children thought she was eccentric. They didn't understand. When you've eaten wallpaper paste and boiled leather to survive, you don't throw away a piece of bread. Ever. Your body won't let you. Your hands physically will not put food in the trash. Katya died in 2003. She was 77. At her funeral, her son told a story that he thought was funny. How his mother used to wrap leftover bread in cloth and hide it in different places around the apartment. Under the mattress, behind books on the shelf, in coat pockets. He thought it was a quirk, an old woman's habit. He didn't know that his mother had watched her father starve to death and had spent the rest of her life making sure there was always bread within arm's reach. She was still under siege. She was under siege for 60 years after the last German shell fell. I did the same thing. My wife, Irina, we married in 1949. She would find bread in my coat pockets and she'd say, "Nikolai, we have a kitchen." And I'd laugh, but I couldn't stop. Even now, I'm 103 years old. I live in a warm apartment. There is food in my refrigerator. Even now, there is bread wrapped in a napkin in my bedside drawer. Right now, today. Some sieges never lived. I'm old enough now that people treat me like a monument. They want to hear about Leningrad the way they want to hear about a museum exhibit. Something historical, something finished. It's not finished. It lives in me. It lives in the way I eat, the way I sleep, the way I flinch when I hear a loud noise, even though the last shell fell 82 years ago. But I'll tell you what I learned in those 900 days, and I learned it watching my father give his bread to my sister. You find out what you are when everything is taken away. Not what you think you are, not what you tell people you are, what you actually are. When there's only one slice of bread and two people who need it, you find out. My father chose to die so his daughter could live. He made that choice not once, but every day for weeks. Every day he brought his bread home and gave it away, and went to work at the factory on an empty stomach, and did this until his body couldn't do it anymore. He was not a hero in any official sense. No one gave him a medal. No one wrote his name on a memorial. He was just a man who loved his children more than he loved being alive. You're sitting there right now, and your life is hard. I know it is. Everyone's life is hard in its own way. But you have bread. You have warmth. You have people who love you. And you have something my father didn't have. Time. He ran out of time because someone else decided he would. You still have yours. Don't hide it in a drawer. Don't wrap it in cloth and save it for later. There is no later. I've been alive for 103 years, and I can tell you, there is only now and the people sitting next to you. My father knew this. It cost him everything to teach me. Don't make it cost you the same. 125 grams. That's what a life was worth in Leningrad. One thin slice of bread. Make sure yours is worth more.